Well, you're very welcome to the Betfred Boxing Show with myself, Dom McGuinness, and as ever, Anthony Crolla. And we have a special guest today. We're going to be joined by Bradley Skeete. He's got a really interesting fight at the weekend. And to say he's up for it is something of an understatement. Lots of interesting things to say. Myself and Ant, we caught up with Bradley a bit earlier. And of course, we're going to be talking all things that we've witnessed at the weekend. Some incredible action. As one of the absolute performances of the decade, I think it's fair to say, or beyond that. But as ever, Ant, we need to find out what you've been up to. So you're a busy lad. You're always here, there, and everywhere. So firstly, where have you been?
I am here, there, and everywhere. But I'll be honest, I've just been recovering from the weekend's action. To be honest, I'm big enough to be boasting when I get them right, but I called a few wrong ones over the weekend, just gone. But no, all good. Other than that, just business as usual, in the gym, training the fighters, helping Joe with his fighters. So busy, and now looking forward to the new start at Old Trafford.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll touch on that a bit later on. And obviously, we'll touch on Kambosos, the man of the moment, absolutely. But
yes,
we've got to start really with the news from the last couple of days. It was kind of, we knew about it, obviously, before. We knew about it a while ago. We spoke to Eddie Hearn about this situation a few weeks ago. So we knew it was coming, and we knew it was going to be on Sky. And it is finally here, Amir Khan and Kell Brook. And again, there's been lots of negativity, lots of chat about it being 5-6 years too late. But I suppose the contradiction of all that is that people are talking about it. So it's got to be relevant, hasn't it?
Of course it is. And I think Amir Khan, Kell Brook always was going to be relevant. And people say, 5-6 years too late, but they will still watch it. And I think, being honest, probably going back to a little bit sort of to when we spoke to Eddie. Does it sell? Yeah, it still sells. Will it sell the arena out? Yes, it will. Does it sell like it once would? Probably not. Probably not. But it does make it probably a bit harder to pick a winner, in the sense where, we know that both fighters are at the very end of their career. And that's what I'm a bit unsure of, whether this is the last fight for both of them, or whether the winner then thinks, no, I'm going to go again to try and win a world title. There's more big fights out there for me. I think, listen, both names will always be decent paydays for them both. But this is the biggest one for them both at this point in the career. And also, it's the one where they've talked about it for that long. I think it had to, I can't say now or never, because it's gone on for that long, but I think Kell had made it clear this was the only fight he was going to continue fighting for. So interesting, but yeah, listen, it's on. It's finally on.
Is it pay-per-view? Because it is going to be pay-per-view. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Like I'm just saying, I'm just being sort of a realist there. Like, there'll be boxing fans who'll say these aren't the two best welterweights in the world. Some people will argue in Britain, but the build-up, the occasion, everything with it, a packed-out arena in front of 20,000. Yeah, it's pay-per-view. It's not the fight with the interest that it once, the Battle of Britain that it once was, and it still is that, but not with the same, interest of what goes on after that. But listen, it's still a huge fight.
Now, it's going to be a couple of pounds above welter. So when you look at that, you look at the struggles I suppose Kell would have, maybe moving down more so, and then Amir. And again, you look at the physical side of it, but ultimately, what happens on that night, on February the 19th in Manchester?
Right now, I think I've always sort of gone with, like Neil, everyone, I think we're going to, when we speak to people, they're going to say speed lies with Amir, power, not just power and timing. Lies with Kell. I think you mentioned there about the weight's a big issue. The weight's a big issue. I know Kell made 10-7 for Terence Crawford, so that £2 certainly helps Kell. But ideally, it'd also be another few pound on top of that, which is the big thing. I think Amir is going to relocate out to the Terence Crawford camp for this fight, I'm guessing. I think at this point, like I say, I think it's so hard to pick a winner, because we know, and I said I like both fighters, but realistically, both fighters, the best days are behind them. And I think it sort of comes with who's got most left on the night, and what does the weight take out of Kell? Can he stay disciplined where he doesn't walk onto the timing of Kell Brook? She's got very good. I think Terence Crawford commented on that after the fight. But I think we'll know, like, Amir is hard work tonight for anyone because of the speed alone. So I think we've got to see how camp goes. And I think I'm also one of them will believe it on the night when they're both in the ring, because it's been talked about for so long. But listen, people have their opinion, but both fighters have been a great service to British boxing. I believe, we're going to begrudge them of getting this payday.
Both will be 35 when they enter the ring. And I suppose one of the things is that they've both got to get through that training camp as well, haven't they? So that's the thing. But I suppose we'll allow you to sit on the fence for now, Anne, because of what you just said.
Just for now.
But what you just said, it does make sense, because there's a lot to kind of get through before we get nearer the time. So we'll let you off on that one. But of course, as I mentioned before, we have been speaking to Bradley Skeete. Now, Bradley Skeete knows these fellas very well. Of course, he called out Amir Khan a few years ago. He trains with Kell Brook. So we asked Bradley, naturally, what he thinks is going to happen. Just want to pick your brains about something, because you're very well placed. You're training with Kell Brook these days, but you were calling out Amir Khan not so long ago. So the big news about these two fighting, what do you make of it? I mean, everyone said it's too late, but what's your whole opinion of the whole thing?
Yeah, it's a massive British domestic fight. Do you know what I mean? But these Kell and Amir has been spoke about for years and years, and they've been linked together, and it's just not happened. And now it's finally there. It's crossed the line, and we've got the massive fight we all been waiting for, really. Yeah, it's a great fight, and I'm looking forward to it.
Brad, I know it might have been like the very sort of tail end, all the hard work's been done once the fight's been announced. But I think you've obviously knew for a week or two it's been bubbling, it's going to get announced. Has that helped you? I know you focused on yourself, but has that helped you in any way in camp, having that buzz around the gym, having Kell in, preparing for his big night, and you knowing a win here on Friday, on Saturday, what that can lead you to? Has that helped at all?
Yeah. Listen, from the first day I stepped in the Inglewood gym, there was a buzz. There was just a buzz straight away as I walked through the door, and being around the likes of Kell, Barry, Liam Williams, I've been around all their camps. Barry, obviously, training and winning his world title. Then obviously he was unsuccessful defending it, but still being around his camp. And Liam boxing Andrade for the world title, going to America. Now Kell's got this massive fight. To be around these world-class fighters is unbelievable, and just to be amongst it and have that buzz, like you say, it's just kicking me on, and I feel in a good place.
You do have a foot, obviously, in the same camp as Kell, so you might be a little bit biased here now, obviously. But how do you see it all going, this fight? I mean, again, lots said about it being too late. It's still going to capture the imagination. So how do you see it all working out on the night?
Yeah, it's gonna gel. Listen, it's a few years behind what it should have been, but it's here now, like I said. And Khan's got the skill, he's got the speed, he's up there. Do you know what I mean? He's world level fighter, same as Kell. Kell's got the time and the power, and I've always, before I even come here, I've always thought it'd be Khan with the speed, and he might be running away with it until Kell lands one of them big ones. And we all know, do you know what I mean? Once Khan gets hit on the whiskers, it's usually game over. So, and that was before I even come. That's not me being biased, but now I'm here and I've sparred Kell, and I've actually felt them so-called chocolate brownies. Do you know what I mean? They're he's got it there, and he's so up for this fight, and you could see just from the press conference the other day, he's bang up for this fight. So he's training, he's on it, and I expect this fight's going to catch fire, and it's going to be a good one to watch.
Brad, will you be getting used for sparring towards that fight? So, you know, there's a few similarities with you and Amir, so will there be some sparring for Kell for that fight?
Yeah, funnily enough, I said to Dom yesterday, we was in the gym and I had a little session, and then Kell was in doing pads, and the noise, like, he was just whacking these pads, and I said to Dom, I hope I ain't sparring him for this. And he said, you will be.
No, I thought you would be.
I was like, oh man, I'm not looking forward to this. But listen, it's great for me to be in his camp, and I will be the best I'll be. Obviously, get a win on Saturday, and I'll be on cloud nine and buzzing, and straight back into camp to then help Kell like the best I can. So yeah, it'd be great.
Well, interesting thoughts there from Bradley Skeete, and we're going to talk more with Bradley. We're going to hear from him about his fight a little bit later on, but we are going to just have a little look back to the weekend's action. And it started on Friday night, of course. It was Bolton. I was privileged to be there. It was Fight Zone, and Jack Massey had his chance to win an IBO cruiserweight title, and he did so with a spectacular finish against Bilal Lagoon. And Anthony, I know obviously you've done lots of work with Fight Zone. You followed Jack's progress. You know him very well. It was a lovely left hook to end matters, wasn't it? And just get the job done.
A lovely shot, and sorry to miss probably Fight Zone's biggest night so far. It was a great left hook from Jack, and I think you could see what it meant, not just to him, to his coach Robert Rimmer, the whole team. The scenes in the ring after it. That's what, for me, they're the highs in boxing that you struggle to get from, which I imagine from any other sport they might see different, but you could just see what it meant for him. And even just like last night, Jack Massey's social media, he bumped into Tyson Fury, who knows, but Tyson calling him a world champion, getting a selfie with him, that means an awful lot to him. And like I say, well done to Jack and well done to the whole team, that everyone around them, from the trainer, the manager, the promotional outfit. It was a great night, great crowd, and like you mentioned, a great finish from Jack.
Yeah, it was a real event, actually. The crowd, yeah, it was very, very lively, all in good spirits. And the point you make is dead true. You could see how popular Jack is with his stablemate, with the crowd that was there, big crowd. And it was a fantastic night for him. He's a really, really good lad. But there were some other standout performers, well, particularly Nathaniel Collins, who I know you've seen before, who was outstanding against Tagger that he was fighting, and again put on a real show. And he's one to keep an eye on in and around featherweight.
Nathaniel's improving fight by fight, very sharp, and I thought he's growing with becoming a champion, and he'll just keep getting better and better. And there's some big fights in that division to be made, and I like the lad. You can see he lives it, and he can enjoy Christmas now, and he can look forward to a huge 2022, the way he's going to be improving. Yeah.
Likewise, Mark Jeffers had a real tough boy in the ring with him, the Belgian.
Yes.
But it was a great learner for him, a 10-rounder, and it was one of those fights. At first, we thought he's going to get him out of here, but Michel Garcia, who's really wily, and it turned out to be a really good learner, I think, for Mark Jeffers, who's a real
fantastic
talent,
learning fight. And I think what he needs really because early on in the Mark was bowling a lot of people over, but last 3 fights he's gone distance, but they've been good learning fights, valuable rounds, because very soon Mark's going to be let off the leash. And he's got the experience of rounds, not just in the gym but on fight night. I spoke about Mark before. I've known him since he was a schoolboy. Very, very strong. He was a school. I used to just overwhelm. He won a good few national titles. But him and the Jennings team, they're working together well. And he's another fighter in 2022. I'm sure he'll be let off the leash.
Yeah. Now, of course, stateside, we were talking about a couple of fights. We were previewing them last week, and one of them, we'll get to this one first, that we said, this can't disappoint, Fulton against Figueroa.
Yeah, and it didn't.
It went Fulton's way, a tight fight. Figueroa wasn't happy about that.
No.
Again, it was talking about rematches, but really he's going to step up, we think, anyway. But again, the fight itself, were you happy with the scores, all the rest of it?
Well, I wasn't, in the sense that I tipped Figueroa, who's an underdog, and I thought he'd just done enough, but it wasn't a robbery. It was a great fight. Couldn't have argued. It just depends what you liked, and the judges liked the work of Fulton's a little bit more, but it was a fantastic fight. I knew it couldn't be anything other than, I understand why Figueroa feels hard done by, but also it was a close fight. It was a very close fight, and I think now we see what happens. Does he move up? Figueroa will never be in a bad fight, and I think it's seen when you get 2 fights like 2 of the very best in the division, you can't help but get a bad fight, and that was the case on Saturday night with them 2.
Talking of bad fights, and I don't think this falls into the category when we're talking about Teofimo Lopez, George Kambosos Jr. And yeah, I think that's about it, isn't it? That's probably the only way to sum this fight up.
Yes.
Fantastic fight, first and foremost. And rarely have you ever seen a fighter back up absolutely everything he'd said leading up to this one when he's a huge underdog.
Massive. It was, do you know what, Dom? I'll be honest. In the group chat in the gym, one of the fighters, James Moorcroft, he tipped Kambosos and everyone was laughing at him. Everyone was laughing at him, thought he'd lost the plot, which he might well have done, but still, he tipped Kambosos. And I think it was, I don't know whether he bought, I said like about when someone as confident as Kambosos, when someone, you could see it was genuine. I mean, people would argue, oh, he's just going without his things he's got to say, but you could see there was that inner belief. But still, I just didn't think it was going to be nearly enough, when you go off previous results. And like I said, I think after seeing the weigh-in, I thought I wasn't backtracking in any way because I thought Lopez still wins, but it might go points. In the size, I'd love to know sort of the weight cut. I think I'd mentioned when I'd met him in person, the biggest lightweight I've ever seen. But that performance by Kambosos, like you said, we're not speaking out of turn. When you take one of the performances of the decade, he was so determined. He fought like he was fighting for his country. He really did. And the knockdown in round one, oh, what a shot. And let's not forget, he had to get up off the floor as well. He got caught with a chopping right hand from Lopez, which was a fantastic shot. But a deserved winner in an unbelievable fight. And I think I put it, he's with Lou DiBella, but I'm sure Lou will get him the very, very best fight next. And I don't just mean, when I say this, as in, it's not like there's a lot of big names who want his title and they'll all start favourite against him. But if he can beat the man, which Lopez was the man, then he's not going to have fear of anyone else. And there's some huge players when you look at top rank, how they'll get behind Lomachenko, Golden Boy, how they'll get behind Ryan Garcia, Matchroom, how they'll get behind Devin Haney. It goes on. Al Heyman, and the PBC will get behind Gervonta Davis. He comes through. They'll look to me that he can come back down to lightweight. I said it. Kambosos is going to get paid next fight, and he's going to get paid very well. If he doesn't have, still get paid well, but if he doesn't have a voluntary in Australia, which he deserves, and he has said he wanted, but comes through that there's some huge names with huge backing who all want that fight with Kambosos.
I'm not sure anyone wants to see him with a voluntary because the way that he went about his business is kind of just throw him in with the big boys because that's what he's all about. He's
and that's what I
big
believe.
Game player.
I believe that totally he is. But like where he goes over to Australia, then it's a tough division anyway, so you won't get an easy fight. Does he deserve the night in Australia? And listen, what about fighting one of those lads out in Australia? Rightly so, but because he deserves that. But listen, I think how he handled himself before, after the fight, how he spoke well. He's a superstar. Australia, I've got a superstar.
Yeah, and quite right. And talking about how he handled himself before, during, and after, he was an absolute credit on every level. The same cannot be said for Team Lopez because father and son, quite frankly, were a bit of a disgrace.
They're a mad bunch. I told you, I met him in Texas last year when Callum Smith fought Canelo. And Teofimo, what a sound lad. He was a real good lad. His dad was nuts. His dad was genuinely nuts. I don't believe that's an act for the camera. His dad is genuinely nuts. And listen, it's few things said was distasteful. And Teofimo himself, and I think after the fight, he didn't cover himself in glory, saying how it was a terrible decision when it wasn't. Listen, there wasn't loads in it, but the right man got it, and deservedly so as well. I think hopefully now we can listen. He's still very young. Hopefully he can go away and he can learn from his mistakes. I don't believe we're going to see him at 135 again. Like I said, he's absolutely huge. But I think sort of how he lives in between fights, how he lives, sort of how he acts sort of in the build-up. Hopefully he learns from it. But listen, he's still an unbelievable fighter. He's lost one fight in an unbelievable fight. George Kambosos in a big upset. He can come again, and I believe he can win world titles again. Not at 135 though.
I was going to say, so obviously then you think that's it. Lopez is done at that weight. So his dad's already been talking about one of the few sensible things I think his dad said was that, they wanted Josh Taylor because you can see how that does make sense in that if he's far too big for lightweight. Is that what you think will happen? Having said that, by the way, that they're forgetting about a lad called Jack Catterall who's got other thoughts. They're talking about a fight in the spring with Josh Taylor, without actually just giving any credit. It's like Josh has just got to turn up, get Jack out of the way, and then there's a super fight. Might be slightly different.
We can't overlook Jack. He's waited a long time for this opportunity. Very skilled southpaw with heavy hands, and Josh knows that. Josh has said in interviews, what I've seen of him, he says, no, it annoys me when people. Jack's a very live punch, so he's giving Jack the respect that he deserves. But if Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez was swapping, could you imagine the build-up? Oh wow! I think it was said Josh Taylor wouldn't stand for that in the build-up. Not a chance.
He's not shy when it comes to that kind of. And
I'm telling you now,
fight week, he'd be right up for that, wouldn't it?
Oh wow! No, that wouldn't. He would not stand for that. But listen, it'd be an unbelievable fight. Listen, I think Josh Taylor's start favourite, rightly so, after what's happened the weekend. But I do believe Lopez now will be much better at 140. But also as well, Josh, he's looking to have this one. He might hang around at 140. He's a very big 140. He might move up to welterweight. He's mentioned about his desire to be a two-weight world champion. He's certainly got the skills and the potential to do so. So we'll see. But still some interesting fights out there to be made for Teofimo Lopez for sure.
Yeah, and still Jack Catterall's got other ideas anyway. So
of course.
But one of the names that you mentioned before in terms of Kambosos is Devin Haney, who of course is also in action. And again, he's got to get the job done against Joseph Diaz. So all these dream fights that we're talking about, we've seen a few shocks. We shouldn't get too carried away with anything, should we? But this is another great one, and another one that you'd see progressing nicely for Haney.
Jojo Diaz is a very, very good fighter. This is by no means any kind of gimmick. I think it's Devin Haney, very professional. The camp they'll be on him. But I think it was just a gentle reminder of do not overlook. Like, this wouldn't be as big of a shot as what Kambosos. We're nowhere near the shot with Kambosos winning last week. Joe Diaz win. So I expect Haney to come through, but I think a lot of questions are going to be asked, and I think he's going to be on it from start to finish. But Diaz is a very capable fighter.
And sticking with your division, the lightweights, it's all about the lightweights, isn't it, this week? But
it is.
Again, and it's another name that's been linked with Kambosos quite naturally because everyone wants a bit of him now. But again, it's the tank, Gervonta Davis, and he's taking on Isaac Cruz. And is this going to plan? Is this going to go to form?
I think so, yeah. Cruz, like I say, will come there and he'll really bring it. But I do believe he will walk onto shot. And I think Tank gets the job done inside the distance, which he always does do when he lands, because he's a ferocious puncher. I think he's one of the biggest punchers in the sport of boxing, pound for pound. But I think just the criticism of Tank is we want to see him in these fights. The Santa Cruz win was a great win against a great fighter, unbelievable knockout, but it was also against a fighter who was naturally a lot smaller than him. We can't forget that. But we do know, like I say, when what he carries, Gervonta Davis, is unbelievable power. But we want to see him in the mix with the lightweights, who we see. What for me now is the hottest division in boxing. There's so many great fights to be made. When you look at it, in with Garcia, Haney, Lomachenko. It's crazy the way people forget Lomachenko. We want to see him in those fights, so he comes through it. But I think their promotional team is very outspoken of Tank's the star. It's like us, only we don't see him in those fights, but supposedly the crowds, the numbers he's doing over there and at the events he's doing say different. So it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of politics could be involved before we see him in with any of the fighters who we've mentioned. You must
look at all this now. I know we've touched on this before, but you're still recently retired. You're recently retired. And but are you thinking, look at these fights, look at the money involved with these fights, or are you thinking, oh my God, I'm glad I'm out of it?
Do you know what, Dom, you just mentioned then? I look at it and think, there's some great fights, great paydays involved there then. But I'm not going to lie, I'm also going to sit here and go, oh, there's some hard fights where I wouldn't fancy walking onto a shot off him. Just being realistic. But it's an unbelievable division. It's an unbelievable division.
And of course, speaking about those American fighters and the action that we're looking forward to stateside, well, we wanted to get the thoughts of somebody that knows these boys very, very well, spent so much time in the Floyd Mayweather camp. So producer Josh, he caught up with the one and only Ashley Theophane.
Got some cracking fights over in America this weekend, Ashley. Two fighters you know really well. Let's start off with Devin Haney. He's in action against Jojo Diaz. How do you see that bout going?
I think this is going to be Devin's hardest fight today. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think he'll have too much speed and skills, and I think he'll be too smart. But I think it's a live fight. The guy's got a chance, but I just think that Devin will just have too much at the end of it.
You say you think it's going to be Devin's hardest fight to date. What will Jojo Diaz bring to the fight to make it difficult for Devin?
Well, he's got some good names on his list of guys he's fought. He's got is it Tevin? He's got a few of them. So I think because he's been in there and he's fought some live guys and he's done the stuff, I think he will go in there believing that he can win. And when you got a guy like that, he's got a chance, and he's done it in the past. He's caused upsets in the past, so he's gonna think that he can do it with Dev. So it's going to be a very good fight. It's just with Dev, he's got the speed and skills. So I think that will do him to get through it. But I think there's going to be some points in the fight where he's going to have to dig deep.
You mentioned you think Devin, he will win this one, though. How do you see the victory coming? Do you think it'll be one that goes the distance, or do you think we could see it end early?
I think it will be a points win. I think it's going to be a hard-fought points win. It's one of those fights. I think it'll be back and forth for the first 8 rounds, and I think the last 4 rounds, he will just kind of win those rounds. So I'm saying an 8-4, something like that, like an 8-4 fight. You know what I mean? But I think it's going to be a very, very good fight because they're both young. They both want to win. They're both young stars. So it is a great fight.
Definitely. And then another great fight the night after, which is unusual in America, having a fight on the Sunday night, early hours, Monday morning for us. But someone, again, you know very well, Gervonta Davis taking on Isaac Cruz. What can we expect from this one?
Cruz is coming late. I think the last 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is. He's gonna, as Gervonta said, he might be a better guy that hit than the guy that he was supposed to fight. So I think I like his team. So his whole team, I've seen them work for the last few years, and I think he wins by KO. I'm saying around 8 to 9 rounds. I think Gervonta will get the KO win. You know what I mean? But I think it will be an entertaining fight until it lasts, because the guy will come for the win, and the guy is going to try to KO Tank as well. So I think it's going to be one of those fights. They're both going to go at it, and it's going to be, the last man there. Whoever's got the better chin.
No, definitely. And of course, we mentioned these two fights. They're both in the lightweight division. Last weekend, we saw another terrific fight in the lightweight division. Kambosos Jr. beating Teofimo Lopez. What is next if Gervonta and if Devin win? What's next for them and Kambosos Jr.? Would you like to see a little tournament between the three of them and they fight each other?
You know what? I think Devin is in prime position to fight him next because he has the WBC belt. So that's the belt that he would want, because then that means he is the man at that weight division. So I think Dev has the head start. But I think with Gervonta is the pay-per-view star of that division. So if you want to make money, you got to fight Gervonta because he is the star. But also, it would be nice for Gervonta to fight him as well, because it's bad to say this, but I think Gervonta would win by, if he was to fight him, I think he would win by KO. You know what I mean? If he was to fight him. So it's one of those things. I think it's a great division where you got all these young guys, young stars, and if they fight each other, it's just great fights for us fans. So it would be nice, as you said, if they just fought each other. and I'm very sure that they will. But it's going to take a few years, but I'm very sure, like, for next year, we're going to see some big fights.
Now, moving to bigger chaps, and as I mentioned before, we've already heard from him once. Bradley Skeete's got a real opportunity against Hamzah Sheeraz again. He's not fancied. It's the golden new boy, if you like, who's taken on the old boy in Bradley Skeete. And it's a great build because Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yarde back in action as well, a year after their first fight. And firstly, we're going to hear from Bradley in a minute, but before we do, he gives his own thoughts. Again, you go back a long way with him. It's good to see him back, isn't it? And renewed and lots of optimism.
It is. It's great to see, like, honestly, Bradley's one of the nicest guys you could meet, but he's got lovely skills. And we saw him out in the summer. And again, it was against an opponent in Dale Arrowsmith, with no disrespect, Dale. Only then I think he said recently how Brad's the best lad he's been in with. You know, Brad was levels above him, but Brad looked like he'd never been away. He's made the sacrifice of moving down to Sheffield in the Ingle camp, loves being there. And you can see he's in a fantastic place. I've seen him again just last week. He cannot wait for this. It's for me, it's just a great fight. Like Hamzah, I've seen an interview with him, and I really like what I've seen of him so far. He's took himself over to America as well as working with Ricky Funes, who I remember being over there when I met him a few times myself. He's made, huge sacrifices, but he's seen as one of the best prospects in Britain, and this is his sort of big night. I don't know if acid test is the right word or not, but I suppose it is, because Brad's a very capable fighter, and Brad, I'm sure we're going to hear from it, but I think Brad knows. Brad thinks in his mind, now they're too soon. It's too soon, and that's what makes it such a great fight. Like I said, Hamza's seen an interview with him. He knows he's in a real fight here.
Well, let's get the thoughts then of Bradley Skeete, not just about his own fight with Hamzah Sheeraz, but also about the main event, Lyndon Arthur against Anthony Yarde.
Moving on to your fight with Hamzah Sheeraz, I've seen a little interview with him, and he seems very respectful. I think he knows he's in a real fight, and he's barely put a foot wrong, and I think he's shown a lot of dedication like himself. He's took himself out to America, working with Ricky Funes at the Houston gym, hasn't it? How much do you know about Hamzah?
He's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. He's young, fresh champion, and he's done everything right so far. Do you know what I mean? He's had 13 fights, and you can't gauge from the 13 fights he's had really how good he is. All these big things are being spoke about him, and rightly so. He's getting in there, and he's getting these guys out of there, and he's doing well. I can't disrespect him and discredit what he's done and what he's achieved so far, but in my eyes, this is his first fight. This is the first proper fight he's in, and he's gonna know he's in a fight. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. I've boxed at a very high level. I've been very successful in my career. I've had 32 fights, and like I say, experience is key, and not just experience. I believe I'm a better fighter. What I've achieved, I've not just achieved from being experienced. Do you know what I mean? Experience has not got me down. I'm very, very high level skilled fighter, so I believe I'm the better fighter.
You looked very fresh when you came back against Dale Arrowsmith when we saw you on Fight Zone. Again, you were rolling back the years. It looked like you hadn't been away. Do you then think, with you improving now with Dom in the gym since that fight a couple of months back, that they've made a big mistake here? They're looking at you at 34. You've got a couple of speed bumps on the record against top opposition. And now, you've been looked at as a little bit of a gatekeeper, and you can take that as a little bit of a driving force.
I'm so up for this fight. Like I said, I had that run out in June, and I was buzzing to be back. Do you know what I mean? It's like I was fresh. I was good. I didn't put a foot wrong. And listen, I don't want to disrespect Dow. Dow didn't have to take that fight, and he come in, stepped up, but I didn't get out of first gear in that fight, and I was just going through the motions, and I got him out of there. So I've got so much more to give, and that was just the start of my new chapter. Do you know what I mean? And now I've got this opportunity where I'm being wrote off, and it seems like all my achievements and what I've done and where I've been and how I've performed in the past is being discredited and just brushed aside. And all of a sudden, I'm this shot fighter overnight. who's 34 and just coming in to just a farewell. Do you know what I mean? It's my last hurrah. They've made a very, very big mistake. And like I say, I've seen Hamzah say this is he's come out fight, is his breakthrough fight. It's not, and I'm not gonna, like I say, sit and discredit him. And he is a great fighter. He's a good fighter. What he's done and achieved in 13 fights, all these big things. He's the best domestic British prospect, and he's gonna be a world champion. He's this, he's that. I believe he will be, but not on Saturday night. His time will come, but he's not gonna get a scalp on my name. No way.
Brad, you mentioned Dale there, and it's not being disrespectful. Like you say, you're gonna fight at a much higher level. But I saw recently he said about the best person he's been in with, and he said there's a compliment there because of how many lads he's been in with and stuff. Like, and I know you are a level above, or well, a few levels above Dale, and that's not being disrespectful.
No, yeah.
But like we're just talking then about being overlooked and stuff like that. Do you feel there's any similarities in this fight to the Sam Eggington fight? You was picked as sort of an underdog then. You was overlooked, and the similarities with Hamzah and Sam with the pressure fight at all at the weight. Yeah. Do you see similarities there?
Yeah, big. Like, do you know what I mean? It's I've been there and done it. This ain't new to me, and you know what I mean. I've known you a very long time too. You've seen my career. I've seen your career, and it's not new to me. When I'm getting wrote off and people like forgetting, it's like the same people who's putting on this fight are the people who promoted and managed me, and it's like they've just brushed, like, forgot what I'm about and forgot me. They've been there and seen it and been there with me. So it's mad. It's mad then for them just to discredit what I've done. And like say the Sam Eggington fight, Sam was flying. He was knocking everyone out. I was going to Birmingham in his backyard to fight him. I was up against it big time. No one gave me a chance. The bookies, the odds was mad. The same like this fight, and I went and done a number on him. And this out, like, do you know what I mean? I was so up for that fight. I knew I was going to win that fight, and I was so up for it. And just the same as this fight, it's like I've had a fresh start, new team, everything's good. And my back is up, and I'm so on it. I'm not just saying, I've not been up for a fight so much in my whole career. And I've said it before, like I want to smash his face in. No disrespect to him. I know he's made a comment saying I've never smashed no one's face in my career, but trust me, he will be the first one. And like I say, I'm not bad mouthing him, but that's how I'm going in there to cause a proper problem and let people know I'm back. And just to there's the same people who's discrediting me and thinking I've passed it. It'd be the same people telling me how good I look and how fresh I am and how I should have been in the Ingle gym ages ago.
Do you know what, Brad? If anyone wasn't looking forward to this fight after hearing you, then
I know.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you fully intend to steal the show at the weekend.
Yeah. But anyone who knows boxing is looking forward to this fight. Anyone who knows boxing is looking forward to this fight.
Yeah, she'll be a cracker. But also as well, of course, you're going to have one eye on the main event when you've got your business done. And in terms of Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yarde going at it again, I mean, we know what happened in the first fight a year ago. Lyndon with the one arm, using that jab beautifully, but having two arms in a weird way could hamper what he did last time, if you know what I mean. Whereas Yarde, I'm sure, is going to come in and try and make a statement. I mean, again, break this down for us.
Yeah, like you said, he was so switched on, Lyndon, in the first fight, because he obviously was going into that fight with just his jab, and his right hand was a problem, and he was so switched on in that first fight, and his jab won in the fight. He going into this fight now, Yarde's up against it. He knows he's got to come and stick it on him, because he did hurt Lyndon late on in the first fight, so he knows he can hurt him. So it might be the case of he's going to come out and think, oh, I'm going to jump on him early. I'm going to get him out of there. But now, like you say, Lyndon's got his right hand now, and he's going to be using that. It might hamper him, like you said. It might not be that switched on where he's so switched on where he knows he's just using his jab. He's got two hands now to play with. But listen, Pat and Lyndon, I know them personally, so I know he's going into this fight 100%. And I don't think there'll be no switching off there. He knows it's a tough fight. He knows what he's going to have to do, and I think he gets the win again.
So there we have it, the thoughts of Bradley Skeete on his own fight and also this Yarde fight against Lyndon Arthur again. Anthony, have you changed your tune in terms of Lyndon and what he did in the first fight? I think you picked that one on the night. You fancied Lyndon on points. He got the job done with one arm. But, you know, just talking to Brad there, is there a chance that Lyndon having two arms is actually detrimental, as stupid as that sounds?
No, I get what you're saying, because he is going to take more chances and maybe there's more opportunities for Yarde to counter. I'm going Lyndon again, not just sort of, you know, loyalties or like that. I'm going Lyndon again, but I do believe it's probably with a little bit more worry. Maybe it's down to that, but more to the fact that Yarde didn't get going last time till very late. But that was also down. Well, that was mainly down to the jab of Lyndon, which was offsetting him and stuff like that. So, but Yarde can't be reckless. But I think he's under huge pressure. He's got to let his hands go earlier this time. Obviously, there was Tunde Ajayi's corner was, you know, highly criticised for the instructions given in the corner, but he's kept Tunde there. They've been on a great journey together. I think I remember James Cook coming in camp. I'm not sure how much input he has or he hasn't had there, but also, listen, I think, you know, regardless, it's obvious he has to let his hands go earlier, because, listen, when he did land, Lyndon did feel some shots. One of them, he wobbled him, you know, shook him to his boots. I expect a similar kind of fight this time, but possibly a bit more exciting in the sense that I see both lads landing big shots, probably see both lads get hurt a little bit. Again, wouldn't be surprised if someone has to pick himself up off the floor. But I'm going Lyndon points. I think it's really close again.
Great stuff. Well, we look forward to that one. Loads of action as well to look forward to this weekend, of course. But yourself, I know you've got some fine-tuning to do with James Moorcroft. He's out on the 11th. Rhiannon Dixon's got a big fight coming up very soon as well. So any other news from the gym?
No, Charlie Edwards is on this Friday night. Paul Butler's on the same night James is on. So rather than the glitz and glamour of Dubai, I am now in Victoria Warehouse. But as you always, Dom, I keep it real. What else? Yeah, like I said, Rhiannon's the 18th. So just busy time. We've got Jake on the Sunday on the famous Jolly Boys show of Steve Woods. So, yeah, a busy time.
And, of course, as well, quick shout-out and good luck to Jack Flatley. He's got a real job on his hands on Friday night against La Horaga in Spain. And Campbell Hatton's out again on that show as well. A little bit more under the radar, which won't do him any harm.
I think that suits Campbell, certainly because of his last few fights and the pressure that's on the lad. I was actually speaking to Alex Matvienko just before we came on air, and it'd mean a lot, like really rooting for those guys massive. Him and Jack have been on a journey together, and Alex is just boxing through and through. And I'm going to look at the odds at that, because I think timing could be everything there. And I think Jack's in a real live chance of doing that. Yeah,
he's going to have to do a David Evanesian, though, if he's going to get any joy, isn't he? And that's easy for the one that gets any joy. I mean,
Bradley could have told us about that. That is so intimidating a bit over there. Bilbao, he has a lot of the ultras. Watch him. It's meant to be a great atmosphere. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that fight.
You're talking ultras now. So we've got to mention Ralph Rangnick. But what?
Oh,
United, they've got a new man now. Is that it now? Ralph is at the wheel, so that's it?
Well, till the end of the season, at least, I think... I thought, you know, Michael Carrick, I thought in the 2 games he'd done, 2 really tough, important away games. He'd done very well for him to take, you know, the 3 points over in Villarreal, and then to come out and get the point at Chelsea, one of the best teams in Europe at the minute, being honest, is good results. But now that we'll see, and I think the style in Ralph is supposedly playing, he's going to be looking to impress, and impressing works him very hard. I know there's a lot of United fans who think a few players might be in trouble and shipped out if they don't buy by him, which might be needed. Now I'm looking forward to it, but obviously it starts tomorrow with Arsenal.
Fancy it? Yeah, confident.
Confident. I'm not so sure how confident I am, but no, I do. You know what? I do. I think we get 3 points.
There you are, that big statement. Finally, Ant, I think because you've been very busy running around the country doing all sorts of stuff, you've been doing lots of media work, you've got fighters all, you're training hard. I think you've been neglecting a lot of your usual stuff, your TV stuff and your reality stuff. You're not even getting involved with the jungle, have you? Not that it's in the jungle, do you know what I mean?
I'm genuinely disappointed in myself. I've still got to catch up on last week's Strictly. I'm 2 nights behind on the jungle, so it's too early for me to pick a winner yet. Lucky enough, well, not lucky enough, the storm caused a lot of damage, so the show was sort of cancelled, or the live task was cancelled. Maybe that was fate, me not being, to watch them live had something to do with that. I don't know, but yeah, next week I would have caught up both on the jungle and on the jungle in Wales, out in the castle. But I'm a celebrity. And
we're gonna have to start this campaign because hopefully it'll be in Australia next year, and we've got to try and get you on it. That's the big dream, isn't it?
It is. That is the dream. Actually, to go on the jungle. Yeah, it would be the dream. And it's missed badly, isn't it? Them being in the jungle, but I think they're making the best of a bad situation.
I think you fancy that hotel that they get put up in, whether you get kicked out after 10 minutes or whether you have to stick it out for the whole thing, then you get the hotel, don't you, for the rest of the gig?
Yeah.
7-star.
It looks unbelievable. Yeah, looks ridiculous. Yeah. I think it's worth getting throughout for just to get in there.
Right, well, let's get you on the jungle. Right, Anthony, as ever, been a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing all the action over the weekend. And what is nice as well, we can end the show, as is now because of this partnership that Betfred has with the one and only, the voice, we've heard it a million times, but he can sing us out again if you like. It's Michael Buffer to say cheerio from the Betfred Boxing Show.
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
For his 4th world title.
Passionate about sport? Then Betfred.